Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Crew Travel right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Ria. I am your host, and I am pleased to welcome back the fastidious Lee Harris from Blue Marine Travel. How are you?
Oh, very good. And I like being called fastidious too.
I know, right? It's a word that you don't mind saying as well.
Yeah, if you can say it, then I'll happily be called it, to be fair. It's not an easy word to say.
And I have to say that Crew Travel is brought to you weekly by Blue Marine Travel, who haven't lost a passenger since Lee Harris was born in 1978.
Well done. You've got it right. Spot on.
I know, right? I'm learning. It takes me a while. I'm a slow learner, but I'm a learner.
Hey, we're only about 5 weeks in, so it's all good.
Yeah, about 9 months in, but who's counting? What's going on in the world of travel this week?
Yeah, lots going on. We'll talk about KLM first. I think that's the best place to start. So KLM have cancelled all its scheduled flights between Amsterdam and the UK. The news comes just 2 days after the Dutch airline announced it will be halting its intercontinental network for an indefinite period of time. The cancellation of flights to and from the UK came into effect on Saturday, January 23rd, and is due to last until at least Thursday, the 28th of January. With regards to the intercontinental flights, as of the time of this recording, KLM services are still operating, albeit we at Blue Marine Travel have noticed a significant number of cancellations. Obviously, for any crew who have flights booked with KLM, please do check either with your travel provider or direct with the airline to see if your flights have or will be affected.
Now, if they have been booked with KLM, will they get their money back and be able to rebook with another carrier?
Yeah, I mean, if the airline has cancelled them, then I mean they should get a refund. How long it's going to take, who knows? Because I would imagine, with cancelling all their flights to the UK and the threat of intercontinental, it's going to mean a lot of refunds are going to be piling up. So, it could take some time to get the refund back.
We've been seeing this straight across the board for the last 9 months, though. I mean, with travel being, so up in the air, pun there. But how long, on average, have you seen, generally speaking, I mean, as a company, does it take to get refunds from the airlines?
I mean, it varies greatly. I mean, I've got to say, I'll praise, I don't often praise BA, but I'm going to. BA, Qatar, American Airlines have been brilliant. Their refund policy and the time to come back hasn't changed all throughout the COVID pandemic. They've always got them back pretty quickly. Other airlines, not so quickly, shall we say. Low-cost carriers specifically have been quite bad at getting money back to passengers. I know some people have been waiting up to 6 months to get a refund. So, yeah, I mean, it does vary greatly. Like I said, certain carriers are a lot better than others.
Right. Well, what's going on in the US of A, aside from change in leadership?
Yeah, change of leadership, which some people may think is good, some might not. I'm not going to get political. The new president of the United States, Joe Biden, got straight to work on his first day in office by announcing that all travelers entering the USA will now need to present a negative COVID test no more than 72 hours before departure of their planned flights into the country. This new legislation will come into effect as from Tuesday, the 26th of January. Anyone without the test result will be denied boarding at check-in. Passengers are also now required to wear a face mask on all domestic and international flights, either heading into or out of the USA. That is now mandatory.
Now, it's not just the US for that. I mean, masks are pretty much almost straight across the board for the world, aren't they?
Most airlines now require a mask. Yeah, you may find one or two that don't. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head who they are, but it pretty much is mandatory now on most carriers. I know the US have taken it one step further. They now expect it in the airports, taxis, subway, pretty much everywhere now that the new president's in. He's now putting these procedures in place.
I mean, I would say it's safe to say for crew travel anywhere in the world, to make sure you've got your COVID test for 72 hours before boarding and make sure you have a mask.
Yeah, I mean, they're the two basics. Without them, you're pretty much guaranteed to run into some trouble somewhere. So yeah, definitely COVID test no more than 72 hours. Yeah, like you say, face mask as well. And obviously with crew as well, making sure that they've got all their paperwork to hand.
Yeah. Now, Emirates, they've had some changes going on.
Yeah, so further to last week's show where we announced that Emirates was suspending all flights into Australia bar the one flight a week to Perth, the airline has now announced this week that they will be restarting operations almost as quickly as they suspended them. Flights to Sydney will resume from January the 25th, with flights to Melbourne resuming a day later on the 26th. And then passengers will also be able to fly from Dubai to Brisbane from January the 28th.
Well, that's good news for some.
Yeah, I mean, it's still crazy, to say the least, with Australia. We're still seeing extortionate prices on airfares, but at least Emirates back on the route, it does make it a little bit easier.
Right. And United Emirates.
Yes, so important, this one. So there's been a blockade, a UAE and Qatar blockade for 3.5 years, but on January 27th, the blockade initiated by several Middle Eastern states on Qatar will officially come to an end. Qatar Airlines will operate its first flight to Dubai in more than 3 years and will be followed by a flight into Abu Dhabi a day later on the 28th of January. Flights into Dubai will be a double daily service with also a daily service into Abu Dhabi. The UAE Qatari flight resumption will be reciprocal, as starting Monday the 15th of February, Etihad Airlines will be making their first flight to Doha in over 3 years. This service will also be a daily service.
So this was all political, though.
Extremely political, yeah. But thankfully, I don't know if it's born from COVID and all the rest of it or whatever, but yeah, they finally put their differences aside, which makes it a lot easier for travelers.
Brilliant. Now, what about COVID passport?
Yes. So IATA, which is the International Air Transport Association, basically they're the big group with regards to travel. They have now got a COVID passport, and Emirates and Etihad Airways will be among the first airlines in the world to trial the IATA digital COVID passport. The mobile travel pass app has been designed to help passengers manage travel in line with any government requirements for COVID-19 testing. Passengers can create a digital passport to verify their pre-travel test or vaccination meets the requirements of the destination they are traveling to. They will also be able to share test and vaccination certificates with authorities and airlines to enable travel. The new app will also let travelers manage all travel documentation digitally. The initial phase, expected to begin in April, will see passengers traveling from the Gulf hub given the ability to share their test status directly with the airline even before reaching the airport via the app. This will then auto-populate the details onto the airline's check-in system. The app will also include a registry of testing and eventually vaccination centres, making it more convenient for passengers to find testing centres and labs at their departure location, which will meet the standards for testing and vaccination requirements for the destination they're travelling to.
That's pretty exciting, especially for crew, because crew travel all over the world. And sometimes, you know, in one trip, they could be, you know, entering and exiting, you know, various different countries. So this is definitely a step in the right direction for movement.
I think so. I think it's going to be, if they can get this rolled out and all the airlines are on board with it, it's going to make it a hell of a lot easier to travel, you know, especially like you say for crew who are going to be traveling, you know, multiple times. Especially now when you're talking about certain airlines are now saying that they won't travel passengers until they've got the vaccination, i.e. Qantas have come out and said that, you know, if you can get it all into one place, your vaccinations and your COVID tests and all the rest of it, you've got it on one app, brilliant. It's going to make the process a lot simpler, a lot quicker.
Do you think that a lot of airlines are going to jump on board the fact that you need to have a vaccination before you travel, or are we going to see sort of a 50-50 split?
I've heard of a couple. Like I say, Qantas have mentioned there was an American carrier as well. I can't remember off the top of my head. I can't remember if it was Delta or American, but one of them have already said that, you know, once the vaccination is rolled out to everybody, they're going to be looking to make it mandatory that everybody has a vaccination certificate or passport, shall we say. So I think you'll probably find as time goes by, more airlines are going to require this for definite. Some
people won't be happy with that.
Exactly right. I mean, you know, there are people who are going to, you know, they're not going to want the vaccination, are they? So you're going to have to weigh up whether you want to travel or whether you want the vaccination, I guess.
I guess you just have to get on a yacht.
You never know. The owner might want the vaccination passport as well.
That's true. That's true. Crew questions. What's going on there?
Yes, we had a question from Brandon this week wanting to know if the new requirement for PCR testing when travelling either to or through the UK is needed if you are a seaman in possession of a discharge book. The official answer, Brandon, is merchant seamen are exempt from needing a PCR test to enter and transit the UK, so you do not have to have one. However, us at Blue Marine Travel, we would thoroughly recommend all crew, if able to get a PCR test 72 hours prior to travel. As we know, the UK is a bit of a marked area in regards to other countries and airlines, and as such, most, if not all, will require passengers who have been in or transit the UK to have at least a PCR test prior to check-in.
Right. Well, you know what? I mean, every week it's just up in the air. You just never know what's going to happen or what's changing. I have to laugh because we started, well, it's not really funny. It's sort of like a sarcastic funny. But we started this 9 months ago thinking that, oh yeah, 6 months and this is all going to be over. And, you know, we're going to resume travel as normal. And here we are almost a year. I mean, you know, just less than 2 months away from a year of up and down. I mean, it's so topsy-turvy. The numbers are rising exponentially in certain areas. And travel is still completely disrupted.
It is. I mean, you know, especially the first few weeks of 2021, it's almost like we've gone back to the start again with, certain countries who are now restricting people entering again, and other countries now putting mandatory quarantine in place. So, you know, we started off with a low, we sort of started to pick up a little bit. It looked like things were starting to ease off, and we've now gone right back almost to the start again. So there's going to be a lot more twists and turns in COVID and travel, that's for sure, before we come out to the other side of it, that's for sure.
Well, so many people were, you know, New Year, they were thinking that, you know, let's get rid of 2020. We're going to move on into 2021. And the first 3 weeks of 2021, like you said, it was going back to the beginning. And it was, but I know. At least we're not all locked down in our homes. At least that's something to look forward to.
Some of us are luckier than others, aren't we? I mean, certain people are, unfortunately. We're very lucky here in New Zealand. I've got to say that for us, all right, it's not normal, but it's more normal than a lot of people's. So I'm very thankful for where I am. But there are a lot of people who, like you say, are unfortunately in lockdown, and it just doesn't seem like things are going to ease off anytime soon.
Well, no. And, one thing that I always have to make sure to tell people is that please do respect the local laws wherever you may be going. Check into it, ask whether it be your travel dealer or, whether you just do the research online, but make sure that you know the local laws. I just saw a news report just last week where there was a yacht charter. Not sure exactly where it was, but now what they're doing is they're not only fining the people that are on the yacht charter, but as well, they took away the boat license for an entire month. So the fines are getting bigger. The problems are getting bigger. As we discussed last week, somebody got 6 months in jail. Make sure you know the local laws and adhere to them, because you're nothing special. You are just like everybody else. And wherever you may go, you need to adhere to the local laws.
Yeah, you do. That's certainly the case. And like you say, they do seem to be cracking down again. Even if you're not totally au fait and happy, with the situation with regards to COVID and the way that certain countries are dealing with things, if you're traveling a lot, you need to respect the rules and regulations that they put in place. It's as simple as that. Yeah.
Well, we're going to put a link to your LinkedIn again, because the amount of information that's coming out daily is absolutely phenomenal, and you do very well at keeping us up to date. So we do appreciate that. And if anybody is traveling anytime in the near future, that's the spot to find out what's going on in the world.
Well, I've got to say, I mean, my numbers are going through the roof on LinkedIn at the moment. It's great. It's great. That's what I tell people. I say, look at all these followers.
I'm so popular.
First time in my life.
Well, I mean, it's because you're fastidious.
Clearly, it's what it is. And titillating.
You said it again. Lee, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on board, and we look forward to you every week coming and sharing your information.
Thank you very much.
Once again, you've been watching another edition of Crew Travel right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Ria. I have been your host. We'll see you again next week.